We're going to go to the president-elect right now, who will make some comments and introduce his economic team.
Sicknick, who has died in the line of duty. Our sympathies and our concerns go out to his family, and the people responsible should be held accountable, and they will be. But today I'm pleased to announce the latest members of our economic team. And with their announcement, I'm proud to announce we have finished naming our cabinet, saving the best for last year. 24 outstanding women and men who will get our country moving again, and who are going to restore trust in our government again, and all of whom are ready on day one to do their job. This is a cabinet that I promised you, and I've fulfilled that promise. It looks like America. It taps into the full range of talent we have in our nation, and we have immense talent. It's a historic cabinet. This will be the first cabinet ever that is evenly composed with as many women as men in the cabinet. This will be the first cabinet ever with a majority of people of color occupying this cabinet. And it has more than a dozen history-making appointments, including the first woman Secretary of Treasury, first African-American Defense Secretary, the first openly gay cabinet member, and the first Native American cabinet secretary. We're also on track. We named a record 50 high-level appointments that are subject to president confirmation, more than any president ever elected has done. We've done our job. We've begun my job of naming these people. It's my expectation and hope that the Senate will now move to confirm these nominees promptly and fairly. It's especially the case for the nominees of Secretary of State, Defense, Treasury, Homeland Security. I nominated them back in November. Given what our country has been through the last 4 years, the last few days, given the threats and the risks in this world, they should be confirmed as close to January 20th as possible. There should be no vacancies at State, Defense, and Treasury and Homeland Security. And we will remain in this dark winter of pandemic and with the economic crisis that's deepening, and we have no time to lose with regard to the entire team. Consider the December jobs report released today. The anxiety and fear of the women and men out there reminds me of when President Obama and I were sworn in during the Great Recession of 2009. This December jobs report shows millions of Americans are still hurting through no fault of their own. We lost another 140,000 jobs, the first more than 372,000 jobs. State and local governments are slashing jobs. 20,000 local educators lost their jobs just last month. In the midst of this pandemic, there are millions of people out of work, unable to pay their rent or their mortgage. They're waiting in line for hours to get food from a food bank. Think of this, the United States of America. People are lined up for miles in their automobiles, waiting to get a meal to put on the table to feed their family. And they're left staring at the ceiling, so many, unable to sleep, worried will they have their health insurance, wondering if they'll be okay. The bottom line is the job report shows we need to provide more immediate relief for working families and businesses now. Not just to help them get on the other side of this painful crisis, but a larger purpose, to avoid a broader economic cost that exists out there that will happen due to long-term unemployment, hunger, homelessness, and business failings. But by acting, the vast majority of leading economists suggest that that's what we need to do to revive the economy. In fact, economic research confirms that with conditions like the crisis today, especially with such low interest rates, taking immediate action, even with deficit finance, is going to help the economy long-term and short-term, reduce scarring in the workforce, increase growth, and reduce our national debt burden. Failure to act will have the opposite effect. I've said before, the bipartisan COVID relief package passed in December was a very important step, but just a down payment. Next week, I'll be here with you all laying out the groundwork for the next COVID economic relief package that meets the critical moment of our economy and our country when we face at the moment. For example, vaccines give us hope, but their rollout has been a travesty. This will be the greatest operational challenge we will ever face as a nation. We're going to need billions of dollars to get the vaccines from a vial into someone's arm, the vaccination, for millions of Americans. We're also going to need tens of millions of dollars to help reopen our schools and reopen them safely. State, local, tribal communities need tens of billions of dollars to keep educators, police officers, firefighters, and other first responders and public health workers on the job. We need more direct relief flowing to families, small businesses, including finishing the job of getting people that $2,000 in relief, direct payment. $600 is simply not enough when you have to choose between paying rent, putting food on the table, keeping the lights on. I also hope that Democratic control of the House and Senate will raise the odds of prompt action on increasing the minimum wage. I've long said that we need to reward work, not just wealth in this country. People in both parties now recognize it's time to raise the minimum wage so hardworking people earn at least $15 an hour minimum. No one should work as millions are doing today, 40 hours a week at a job, and still live below the poverty line. They're entitled to at least a $15 minimum wage per hour. Folks, the big focus will also be on small businesses and how to correct the current administration's failures to get relief to Main Street small businesses that are most in need. Mom and pop stores are the backbone of the economy. And they're also, as you all know, they're the glue that holds communities together. It holds them together. But today, more than 1 in 4 small businesses are not open. At least 400,000 are closed for good. And as the month goes by, a third of black-owned businesses, and more than a fifth of Latino-owned businesses, and more than a quarter of Native American-owned businesses have less than 1 month in reserves to cover expenses. Previous rounds of economic relief last year helped millions of small businesses stay afloat and keep employees in the payroll. But there were clear problems. Black and brown-owned small businesses had less access to that relief. Mom and pop shops were often the last in line, while big, well-connected businesses jumped in front of the line and got more relief and got it faster. And at every turn, this administration, the Trump administration, has undermined accountability for every tax dollar spent, weakening oversight, firing inspector generals. So it's no surprise an independent watchdog found that tens of thousands of ineligible companies receive relief they should not have, including from fraud and abuse, siphoning off support for their very small businesses that that need it so badly. But the good news is that the relief package passed last month provides additional aid to small business and workers. But as I said from the beginning, the need to make sure that relief and future relief reaches everyone who needs it, we need to do more. These relief dollars will start to flow quickly, potentially while the current administration is still in office. And they may send out money that they won't have any control over. But for what we have to need control over, I want to be very clear what my priorities are for distributing this emergency aid swiftly and equitably. Our focus will be on small businesses on Main Street that aren't wealthy and well-connected, that are facing real economic hardships through no fault of their own. Our priority will be Black, Latino, Asian, and Native American-owned small businesses, women-owned businesses, and finally having equal access to resources needed to reopen and rebuild. But we're going to make a concerted effort to help small businesses in low-income communities, in big cities, small towns, rural communities, that have faced systemic barriers to relief. Think of the mom and pop owner with a couple of employees who can't pick up the phone and call the banker, who doesn't have a lawyer, an accountant, to help them through this complicated process, to know if they're even qualified, or who simply didn't know where this relief was available in the first place. We went through this, Don, when we brought Detroit back off its knees. And as we saw in this morning's job report, restaurants, bars, and hospitality industry have been slammed by this virus. We're going to direct relief to those businesses and others that have been so badly hit the hardest. We owe them that support to help them get through the other side of this crisis. And I promise you, we will investigate and prosecute waste and fraud in these programs so that money goes to the companies that deserve it, and we'll use it to help their employees and their communities. When my president, President Obama, asked me to implement the Recovery Act, along with Don, who helped me a great deal, we invested more than $800 billion in our economy to help recover, rebuild, and less than 2/3 of 1% waste, fraud, or abuse occurred. We know how to do this. We know how important predictability and clarity are to small businesses. From day one, this administration worked to ensure that small businesses and financial institutions in every community understand the rules for these programs, the resources available to them, where they can turn for technical assistance if they need it. We will have navigators who help guide them through each step of this process until the money they need is in their bank account. And to the lenders participating in these programs, you should move quickly, without delay, to begin extending relief. But I urge you not to disabuse these funds, not to disperse these funds in the same inequitable way you have in the past. Here's my commitment. In return, we'll make our expectations of you crystal clear, the banks, so that you can quickly and equitably deliver relief to the communities that you serve, unlike what's been happening in many places. The bottom line is we're in the midst of the most unequal economic and jobs crisis in modern history. Congress needs to act as quickly as possible on all the issues I just laid out.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.